So we know that our route definitions are imported and used during the preload stage of our application's lifecycle, and they're housed within the start directory within the routes.ts file, which we have opened up here. We can also see within here that the Hypermedia starter kit has given us a few predefined routes. We also saw these routes within the list routes command that we took a look at within the ACE CLI as well. Right now, we're going to completely ignore the existence of these lower routes and just focus on the basics. First thing to note within here is that we are importing the router from AdonisJS core services router. The services area throughout AdonisJS's imports are to note container services. This one in particular is a singleton of AdonisJS's router, meaning that the same instance of the service or router is used every time it's imported for the duration of our server's life. So the only time that we're going to get a new instance of this router is if we were to stop our server and restart it. While our server is running though, every time we import this file, it's going to be the exact same instance. A number of AdonisJS's built-in batteries export container services for our convenience. And again, they're noted by that services import path right there. With this router that we're importing, we can define our routes within our application. In route definitions are paths that we define that we want our application to be able to handle. For example, whenever we booted up our application and took a look at the home page, we visited the /route definition. And this, via its route definition here, is saying that whenever this route is requested, it should render the home page from EdgeJS to get the final HTML markup there. That is then displayed to us in our browser as such. In this particular route definitions case, the on method is considered a shorthand. It defines a get route definition for the pattern provided with a few simple handling options like rendering a page as we're doing here. Now, in addition to the on shorthand method, each HTTP verb has its own method that allows us fine-grained control over how to handle routes as well. Each HTTP verb also has its own general purpose. Get is for rendering pages and fetching information. Post is for creating records and sending general payloads. Put is for updating a record, generally with multiple properties. Patch is for targeted record updates, usually singular properties. And delete is for deleting records. So let's start simple. Let's start by creating a page of our own to show our application's terms of use, a page almost every application is going to have. So we'll do router.on. We want this to live at /terms so that inside of our browser, whenever we go to /terms inside of our URL bar, this should be the page that we get rendered out. So if we jump back into our route definition, we can say, whenever we send a get request to /terms, we want to, and here are the shorthand helper methods that we have at our disposal. We have redirect, redirect to path, render, route, and set handler. Redirect will allow us to redirect anywhere. That could be inside of our application or outside. Redirect to path allows us to redirect to a specific path inside of our application. Render, as we saw with our home page, allows us to render an actual page. Route is a property that gives us access to the actual route. And set handler allows us more fine-grained control on how to handle this particular route definition via a callback handler method. In this particular case, we're going to want to render out a page that is housed within our application at pages/terms. When rendering, AdonisJS will automatically look within our resources views directory for the paths defined within that render function. So here we're saying to look inside resources views, pages, and then there should be a terms.edge page to render out. Now, we haven't created this page yet, so with this route defined, if I give this a save, if we were to actually jump back into our browser here and request this route within our URL, we're going to be met with an error screen. This error screen is Youch, a popular package built by the actual creator of AdonisJS as well, that provides us an informative and developer-friendly error screen to tell us exactly what error we got, as well as a stack trace that helps us track down the root of that error as well. The screen will only be displayed when our application is in development mode. So if we were to deploy this application for production and we actually got this error, the user would see a more user-friendly screen instead of this one. So in this case, it's telling us that it cannot resolve the page that we've told it to render, which we have my project path there, but inside of this project path, we've told it to render resources, views, pages, terms.edge. And it's saying that it cannot resolve that and letting us know to make sure that the file exists. Within the stack trace, if we scroll down a little bit, we have a code block of the last run stack, but we can expand any of these to see the internals of where the call came from as well for additional context. In this particular case, Everything is internalized from AdonisJS's packages, trying to get to the final render that we've requested. If we scroll down even further though, we do also have request information. So whenever we hit enter for our /terms page, we've sent up a request to our server, and this is what that looks like. We've requested the URL /terms. It was a GET request. It had the following header information along with it. All of this provided again to help us track down the underlying issue. But in this case, we do know exactly what's wrong. So what we need to do next is actually create this page for it to be able to render it out. As mentioned previously, AdonisJS has its own template engine called EdgeJS. It uses .edge as its extension, and the AdonisJS extension pack that we installed in Module 1 adds support for EdgeJS to Visual Studio Code so that we get syntax highlighting. Again, if you're just seeing plain colors here whenever you open up your EdgeJS pages, make sure that within your extensions panel, you have the EdgeJS syntax highlighting extension installed. So what we need to do is create a brand new page for our terms. So we can either right-click that directory and hit new file and create a file called terms.edge, or I'm going to hit escape there. We can open back up our terminal with Command J, which we also see our error here as well, logged out within our terminal. I'm going to hit Control C to stop our server. I'm going to clear this out, and let's take a look at the node ACE list again. Within the make section here, we should see make view. Creates an EdgeJS template file. Let's go ahead and use that. So node ACE make view, and let's check out the help options real quick. So all we need to do is provide it a name, and then we can additionally also say to copy the contents from, and then provide a path there as well. So we could try to do node ACE make view. Again, just like with our render method, this is automatically going to look within our resources views folder. So we just need to go from there. So we want to do pages/terms. So if we just hit enter with this node ACE make view pages terms, what it's going to do is give us just an empty EdgeJS file for us to be able to fill out. If we wanted to instead copy the contents from a different page, like for example, our home page, we could use the contents from option to do just that. So I'm going to go ahead and delete our terms. By default, whenever that's omitted, it's going to use the stub from AdonisJS's internals. By providing that contents from option, and I just hit up on my keyboard there to go to the last run command. But whenever we provide that contents from, we're overriding that stub path. And this is going to be from our application's root. So we need to provide it the explicit file path from that root. So this will be /resources, views, pages, and then we can copy it from our home.edge page. If we hit enter there, we'll see that that again created our terms page. And if we dive into that terms page, it's going to be a literal copy of our home page. So with that information, you can also create your own expanded stubs of views as well, if you wished. So, okay, I'm going to go ahead and boot our server back up. So npm run dev there. And I'm going to hit Command J to close that back out. Okay, so that was for demonstration purposes. I am going to go ahead and just empty this file back out. And let's use emit, which we enabled in EdgeJS files in Module 1 to stub out an HTML5 markup. So we just hit HTML:5, hit enter there, and it will give us this stubbed EdgeJS markup. We'll do H1, terms of service, and then we can add in a brief paragraph of this is the terms of service page. We'll give that a save. Now, if we jump back into our browser and give this page a refresh, boom, there we go. There is our terms of service page. All right, let's go ahead and create another page. So let's jump into our views pages. And this time let's just right click and choose new file. And let's make this one at challenges/index.edge. By doing challenges/, this will automatically create a challenges folder for us with an index.edge file inside of it. Now, our naming here for our page of challenges/index follows resourceful naming conventions, where challenge is the actual resource. Resourceful naming has conventions for each HTTP operation needed to list, show, create, update, and delete a resource. For example, we have get/challenges, which uses the name index and renders a list of items for that resource. We have get/challenges1, which uses the name show and renders a single item where 1 inside of the URL serves as an identifier for the record with an ID of 1 that we should render out. We have get/challenges/create, which is using the name create and renders a form to create an actual item. And then we have post/challenges, which uses the name store and handles the form from our create page to actually create the item that we've sent the details up for. Then we have get/challenges/1/edit, which uses the name edit and renders a form to edit the item once created. For that, we also have a put of /challenges/1, which uses the name update and handles the form from that edit page to update the item with its new details. Finally, we have delete/challenges/1, which uses the name destroy and handles the deletion of the item that we have set up the ID for. Again, one there inside of the URL for each of those, where present, serves as the ID identifier for a single record. And we're going to see this naming convention used in both our route definitions as well as our view names. Keeping to this convention actually helps keep things predictable and easy to understand within our code base. Okay, again, for this, let's create some simple HTML5 markup here. For now, let's just add in a simple H1 that just says challenges. And this H1 is just going to be so that we know what page we're on whenever we render this page out. Back within our route definitions then, we're going to want to define a route for this view so that we can actually request it and render it out within our browser. This time, instead of using the shorthand on method, we'll use the get method to define this route specifically for get requests. To follow our resourceful naming convention here, we want to do /challenges for the index handler of this resource. Now, unlike our on shorthand, this accepts a second argument, allowing us to define fine-grained control on how this route should be handled via a route handler function. So for this, we'll define a callback function here that accepts in an HTTP context inside of its route handler function. This HTTP context, abbreviated as CTX here, contains contextual information about the request that's actually been sent. It's with this that we can specify what page to render, gain access to request and response properties, and a lot more. As we continue through this series, we'll get more acquainted with the HTTP context. For now, all that we're going to do is use it to render out our challenges page. So to do that within our handler method, then we just need to return CTX dot, and there is a view property within our HTTP context that gives us access to the same render method that we're using within our on shorthand. Again, this is automatically going to look within our resources views directory, so we just need to provide it the path from there. This time, you'll also notice that whenever we add our strings in, we get an autocomplete list of all of the view options that we have accessible to render out. If we scroll down past the component paths, we get to our pages paths. And in particular for this one, we want to render out our pages challenges index page. Okay, great. Let's give that a save. And now we should be able to jump back into our browser and switch our URL from /terms to /challenges. Hit enter there, and fantastic. There is our challenges page rendered out. Now, at the moment, if we were to make changes to this HTML markup, so if we jump back into our challenges index page and we add in -edit to this, give it a save, and jump back into our browser, we're going to need to manually refresh to pick that change up. Don't worry, this is simply because our browser isn't hooked up to our Vite dev server. They kind of communicate with each other to pick up those changes automatically for us. So we can easily fix this by applying our starter kit's layout component to this page. This layout component comes prepackaged with the HTML5 boilerplate that we already have on this page, in addition to a Vite tag pointing to our CSS and JavaScript files. So we can find this layout component within components, and there should be a file within here called layout.edge. If we open this up, we'll see this Vite tag right here. It's this Vite tag that wires our browser up to our dev server to get our browser to automatically pick up those changes as we make them inside of our code. Otherwise, the browser just doesn't know that we've made a change to refresh that file. There's also a lot more going on here that we're going to slowly get comfortable with. So don't worry about everything else that's going on inside of this file or what we're about to do to apply this component to our page. We'll step through it in subsequent lessons later on. So let's go ahead and condense back away our components directory and jump back into our challenges index page. All that we need to do is keep our H1. We can go ahead and get rid of everything else as that's provided by that layout component. And we'll call our layout component by doing @ and another thing that that EdgeJS component's doing is providing us a nice autocomplete of our available components and tags, but we can merely type out layout here, call it like it's a function, and then add in an end tag. In between this start and end tag for this component is where we want to put the contents that we want for this page. That's going to be our H1 here. So let's go ahead and get rid of that edit since we already have that active inside of our browser. And then let's give this a save, jump back into our browser, give it a refresh. And you'll notice also we now have the Hypermedia wrapper that we saw on our home page, but we also now have our challenges there as well. The font has also changed because we now have that CSS file provided from our layout as well. So to verify that this is working, let's go and jump back into our EdgeJS page and let's add just a quick paragraph. So we could say, welcome to the challenges page. If now we give this a save, jump back into our browser, we'll see that this is automatically applied. It's not quite where you might expect it. It's right down here due to some of that CSS that we have on this page. We will fix that up later on. For now, all that we care about is that we do indeed have that being picked up. So now we no longer need to refresh manually.